So we got a donation during the intro, and I really hate who it's from, because some of you will know this, some of you won't. SoFlo Antigua Shipyard says, "We're all playing checkers, but you game assassins have been playing chess for years." I'm actually. Do you know where that's from, Zamagrove?
Nope.
Then you have been missing out on some like pristine drama, my friend. We'll talk more on that in a moment, guys. We are getting into game number 1 in a brand new best of 3. The winner of this goes on to fight against Showtime, and we'll see which of these two titans gets there. Bottom left, it's Invasion Gaming's Pink Protoss Harstem.
In the top right, as the Red Zerg, he is Demaga.
So, actually, this is something I've been a little bit passionate about myself, even though we've not had these problems recently.
Mm-hmm.
One second, put that down. There's some fair use controversy going on through YouTube right now.
Receiving
I know that.
transmission.
Okay, that's a big donation. I will get to that in a moment. Thank you, sir. But for those who don't know, there's a guy named SoFlo Antonio, and he's got this really dumb, cocky thing where he says, like, oh, you're all playing checkers, I've been playing chess for years. That's the joke of that. But the reason I bring this up isn't to explain a semi-funny joke. It's because there's this hashtag going around right now, hashtag WTFU, where's the fair use? And what I'm scared about is if this is an issue that doesn't get resolved on YouTube, it's something that might actually bleed over to Twitch a little bit longer down the line. Twitch is a little bit more of a free landscape than YouTube is right now, because YouTube's got all these issues with copyright and DMC takedowns and all this. And we've actually been subject to this. We've had people try and copyright claim our videos all the time, which is really annoying. And I bring this up only to raise awareness. And if you haven't looked into it, there's YouTubers out there like Boogie and others who are very intelligent that explain it in a lot better detail. So it's just something I would like to, I guess, use our popularity to try and raise a little bit of awareness for. But that is a monstrously large donation coming in from DC Monster 821. He donates $75.
Woo!
Keep up the good work, guys. You keep the streams coming, I'll keep the donations coming.
Thank you.
You drive, I'll bring the beers. All right. Now, generosity is appreciated. Thank you so much, sir. Angel Wings 1 donates their re-subs for 6 months, and we actually have the game starting up. Now, luckily, we had a bit of a slower opening, so I didn't have to panic too much about talking a bunch of nonsense prior to things going. But Harstem, he pretty much had Minimath's number from the get-go. Like, he knew exactly how it was going to be played out. He knew exactly what was going to go down. I'm wondering if he has Demaga under that same sort of lock and key, because Demaga has really not been showing us the same strength that was the once WCS player like 2 years or whatever ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be over 2 years. It's always so weird to think that Legacy of the Void beta started in like April?
Yeah, WCS itself
April.
was still going on for HOTS when the beta was happening.
So I always I go by that and then add whatever I think is before that. So Demaga hasn't really been in form for about that long. He had maybe like a week where he looked kind of good Legacy of the Void, but that was it. So I really expect Harstem to take another 2-0 after his performance against Minimath. But maybe Demaga has improved in the since last time we cast him, which would have been a few weeks ago, probably.
The Adepts are being chased down, and they're probably going to die. Harstem going with the Phoenix opener once again. He's done this every time we've seen him, and to be honest, it's not just a common opener. It's pretty good. It leads to a lot of roadways that tend to be either, what we saw at the crowd control, the Hydras, which is cool, nerdy, whatever, but also the fact that Mutas have become a very large problem for Protoss players since nobody can just go mass blink stalkers anymore.
Yeah, it's not really an option. People were trying to for a while. Legacy of the Void, but everything has kind of calmed down, and the best way to play Protoss right now. So Stargate Opener is really popular on Dusk Towers 2, more specifically, but just in general. Got some Twilight Openers. You still have some Robo Openers, but I feel like Stargate's really coming into popularity. And then you go for the Double Robo eventually.
Well, actually, that's funny because I was going to start touching on it. It feels like everything in Protoss comes in twos, right? Like, you open 2 gateways to get 2 Adepts out quickly. You'll have 2 Stargates to deal with Mutilis. You'll have 2 Robos for production.
Yeah.
Like 2 by 2
yeah.
by 2.
It
Double
wasn't
forges.
2 Robos back in the day. You'd only ever have like 1, even if you're building... Well, I guess like late in the game you would have 2, but it's really about especially on this map where it's going to be defensive for both parties. You know, they're both macroing up. It's going to be Harstem going for the double robo fairly quickly to double pump Immortals, unless he scouts something different, of course. Unless he scouts like it's actually a mutas, and then maybe you hold off because they're only going to be so useful in the early game. Demaga is not going for Roach Warren, but there is the missile. So missile and Carapace, I guess, from the 2 Evo chambers, and the Hydralisk Den.
For melee as well. We've actually seen a couple people try and pull this off. Now Harstem, a big part of these Phoenix right now is whether they actually do a lot of damage or not is aside because he's scouted. It needs a bit of a pause. I swear to God, if Harstem's tabbing out right now to bet on himself. Part twos. $5 came in, by the way, from Sharklizrod? Is that how you say that?
Sharklizrod.
It says, I don't use ad block at all, but according to BaseTradeTV bot, I've been watching a few hundred hours of you guys, and that's worth at least $5. What? Damn, dude. Well, thank you for watching a few hundred hours of us. It's a
lot.
It's always kind of scary looking at that bot because the BaseTradeTV bot is the maximum amount of hours because it's been around since, pretty much we got partnered. And it's insane how many thousands of hours we've actually been live and, the bot's been online.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Hydralisk coming out, not too surprising. It is the melee weapons that are going to be a little bit more shocking. And while Lings, it's going to be questionable, right? If Harstem starts expanding a bunch, the melee upgrade's going to be really good for their harass. You run by with the Lings, you kill probes, kill Nexus, cool. What I like about this, though, is it might just give them that extra hit or two they need to chew through the Zealots a little bit quicker. Because Hydras and Lings, they've got a pretty good amount of damage just without any upgrades whatsoever, but you give them that +1, and all of a sudden it's like one less Hydra spine required to kill the Zealot. Now goes into the Immortal. Triggers the shield sooner, then it's off cooldown, boom, you kill the Immortal. That's a real, very specific situation, but it's just kind of cool the aspect of what +1 melee brings.
I thought he was going to add into the Ling Hydra attack we saw Minimath doing on the same exact map in the last series, which was so close to overwhelming Harstem, but then just barely didn't. He was able to recover from. But then he goes for a Lurker Den, he goes for an Infestation Pit, and a Hive, so I'm not sure. It's odd, because usually Carapace, since it helps both, is the preferred, upgrade for the macro game. Just neglecting that for +2/+2 on the offensive feels like it's going to be for some combination of ultras, but then he gets a Spire, and I don't know if he's going to get an Ultra Skyver and a Greater Spire. And it's a very passive game. I guess he could afford it.
I would not like to see Ultras, if we're going to be honest. Every time we see them in Protoss versus Zerg, it just feels like a waste. Having one or two in rare circumstances is not too bad, but I really do like Broodlords a lot more when it comes to tech.
I agree, and the melee does help Broodlords. So they always have an interesting dynamic that I guess many people maybe don't know about, but the flyer attack sends the projectile, and then the melee is actually the Broodlings.
With Zealots being less involved with the matchup than they were in the past, you're going to see them, they're going to be a buffer, but the fact is you're not going Zealot Archon. I really actually like Adrenal Gland Lings for where the direction that this game's heading, if that's going to be the case. I think +3 on the melee, I think Adrenal Glands, a couple Lurkers in the back, they're going to tear through Harstem's army.
Yeah. The only time we saw this double attack upgrade was, I think, Hydra tried it in a ZvZ, and it signed up with an all-in almost really well. It didn't actually win that game. And then another time versus Protoss, and then it did go into the Carapace afterwards. It was only for that +1, and then nothing beyond. So it's interesting to see Demaga bringing out something a little new anyways. We'll see how it works out. He is getting a Greater Spire, and will be wanting to hold until he can get those Broodlords.
There's detection here for Harstem, but too many times recently we've been seeing good Protoss players storm their own observers, float them into these Spore Crawlers. He only has the one for detection, so I actually really enjoy that he's gone around cleaning up creep tumors instead of actually pushing in. And I think the Oracle is actually be so much better for him in this particular circumstance. But the double Stargate's following this up. We're going to see that late game transition out of Harstem, and he's not going to get totally caught off guard by things. The War Prism did unload a couple Zealots to the main, but this is more of a distraction than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, Demaga is going to be able to get to his Broodlords, and he will have 3/3. Oh, wow. He will have 3, rather, I guess, on his Broodlings.
It's actually gonna be kind of cool seeing the difference, because this is like Demaga and Minimath play somewhat similar styles up to a point, but Demaga investing heavily into upgrades, I think, is going to benefit him more than what we saw out of Minimath.
It's just it is so, like, you say 3-3 and it's always assumed that the second 3 is for the carapace.
Yeah,
it's not in this game.
You gotta do Morse code, right? Like 3 stop, 3 stop.
Oh, I guess I don't know. I guess it's like, I don't know.
He actually skipped adrenal glands.
Yeah. I mean, the Ling's having these upgrades. I mean, that's like, Lings can be super powerful in the late game. I don't mind that that he's getting Ling's upgrades. It's just odd to see no Carapace, since it covers everything. But he has, I guess, that perfect composition that he wants. I mean, they both allowed each other to kind of get to this point. There's been really no aggression. So Broodlords it is. And Harstem, he's getting upgrades, and he's getting Tempest. Yeah, there they are right there. So it's going to be all about that air.
About that air. The nice thing about Tempest, too, is, like, while they're not the most damaging bursty units in the game, they do let you pressure your opponent into forcing an engagement or backing away. No other unit in the game has the power to do that the same way Tempest does, just all because of its range. The downside is, though, it's, regardless of all of that, it's got a very long cooldown, and things, again, like Zerglings and Hydras, which you can kind of mass up, will be pretty good in this situation. I'm actually curious to see if we'll see the investment out of Corruptors out of Demaga. Not just for the Tempest, but to possibly run around and start taking the P-breaks on the Nexus.
Hey, P-break. Yeah. I think if you're going to play a game like this, it might be better to have Double Spire, too. Like, it's clear it's going to go into this very, very late game, and it is going to be about that air fight. So, Vipers come out, they add a little bit of Parasitic Bomb, you get a lot of Corruptors that try and split and don't die to the Archons, and you try and take out that air army. So usually you want Carapace as well on your Corruptors, because they benefit quite a bit from just being able to live for a very long time. The entire goal of Demaga, though, seems to be on just, like, attacking and getting the army killed before he even takes damage. Like, that's why there's no need for Carapace. So he's getting the flyer attack for the Broodlords. But, they'll also help the Corruptors. Just, we've been hearing, pretty good things about Carapace and those Corruptors and these mass air wars.
Well, that was a lot more influential, I think, when carriers were a bigger part of the matchup than necessarily Tempest. I mean, I'm not going to disagree. Like, Carapace, if you can afford it, is good. Like, no doubt. I would actually really like to see Abducts in this situation more than anything else, of course. And more to the point, that Adrenal Glands upgrade we talked about before is the difference of these Lings killing just a pylon versus killing the pylon and the cannons, right? Like,
yeah.
I feel like Demaga skipping this is, okay, you've got a 3k, 2k bank, there's no reason not to get Adrenal Glands. Especially because if this game goes super desperate, mined out, and both players are on no economy, like, you're going to want your Lings to be the best Lings they can be.
Yeah.
But charging in here with a couple of Zealots, the Broodlords do reveal themselves finally, but they are quite nestled back, so the Tempest can't get those free shots off. Continuing to run around the north side with Zerglings while this goes on. Demaga is not being super turtle. He is still trying to be aggressive. Downside is, Harstem is invested in a ton of cannons, and I forgot Harstem, right? Like, he's the one guy we cast who actually does invest in cannons, PvT, PvZ. Like, he'll actually get defensive structures.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I mean, they both have a nice bank, so to do this definitely makes a lot of sense. And he knows that the Lings they're not Cracklings, but he's probably clicked on them and seen that they had 3-0 for that attack. Now he's starting to get Carapace for both his air and his ground. It's a little silly seeing it this late in the game, plus when Carapace start. But it's on the way.
I like the way Harstem's doing this. It seems a bit silly to compliment, but the aggression means that Demaga is not getting away with 7 bases, both of them stalled out in the middle of the map, and just waiting for this game to mine out. Like, Harstem is trying his best to keep Demaga in check. Proven to be difficult because of these Ling round buys, of course, but while he invests a ton of cannons over here, he doesn't have a ton invested here, and these Lings could probably tear down his base.
This is probably the first time I've seen those rocks broken down. To the top left for that...
Where?
Not the gold base, in the top left.
Oh, here.
I was like, this is nowhere near the top left.
I was just looking at in the top left, and I don't see any rocks like on the map. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, because they're missing from the ramp. I see what you're talking. Well played, Zombie Grub. Well played.
I was going to start screaming at you in an accent.
I know. I had no idea.
Waited any longer.
This is where that synergy starts falling apart. Nexus does get torn down. He tried to defend it, but Harstem, with a bank of his own, he can easily invest in a bunch of cannons and start canceling these Ling run buys out. Still, though, constant investment here at Corruptors. Not a bad choice. You're going to want Corruptors to deal with this army, but it's really, I think, 2 Vipers abducting 1 or 2 at a time. I know there's the fear of feedbacks, but I think it'd be more like even just throwing in a Blinding Cloud so you can push type thing.
Like, the Viper is just it's a good utility tool. Like, it used to be like, oh, if you got it, you'd laugh as the parasitic bomb killed everything. But now that it's been nerfed a little bit, it's still, like, something that is energy-based that maybe you can keep alive that will add consistent damage. So, it does seem a little questionable not to get him at all. But he is trying to get this huge army. Storm's working well. Archon's working well.
I mean, the Tempests are doing exactly what they need to do, and they're forcing Demaga to choose to fight or back away. And unfortunately, the fight is not going so well for him. Storm's blanketing lots of these Corruptors, hitting those Hydras, losing a lot of what's on the ground. And while Harstem hasn't won the game here, he's depleted the bank of his opponent while maintaining one of his own. In fact, that bank, that money, because Demaga was like on, what, 3K, like what feels like moments ago?
I can't quite pin where Demaga went wrong.
When he chose
Harstem. Harstem is just he did everything right, and it looked like Demaga was doing everything right too. You know, kind of odd to see the upgrades, but they still got to the good upgrades. So I didn't feel like that really affected it that much. But he's in the end losing his army and losing his bank and probably losing the game, unless this fight can change it. Nope.
I think I really like Demaga's thought process of not fighting the army, but fighting around the army, doing the harassments. The Corruptors do take out a good chunk of the Tempest, but it's not going to be everything here, unfortunately. And the Broodlords are not killing the Archons, I think, at the rate that Demaga was hoping for. So constantly just kind of swimming around, trying to dodge everything, can't quite pull it off. But whether it was Adrenal Glands in the Lings or maybe more dedication to the run-bys, I loved everything he was doing that didn't involve fighting this army head-on. Oh yeah, the Observer got sniped, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. Alright, so Harstem does have to back off, but he has 5,000, 4,000 about, so... I mean, that's much better than Demaga, who also is, of course, committing a lot to the air still. It's going to be quite expensive. I think another part as to why Demaga might be doing so well is that any other Protoss, as you said before, would not have had all those cannons. And, like, even if they weren't Adrenal Glands, 3-0 Ling should have been able to tear down this base, plus the other base that he just tore down, plus get into the main. I mean, I feel like so much of his... these upgrades focus was on attacking... and doing a lot with the attack, and then nothing actually happened. It was purely Ling-based attacks, and they killed one Nexus once, and that was it.
Well, Harstem's army, well, it can't exactly deal with the Broodlords directly. It is a money game, and Demaga trying to expand right here. This is actually an incredibly important base to take for him because his money is depleting and it feels so quick. In fact, we haven't looked at the resources lost in a while because I've had units clicked on, but look at that, like double for Harstem.
Oof. Nice. The splash just seems to, almost always work out better for the Protoss. Like, we rarely see the ideal late game composition for both parties plus a mined out map. We saw it once with Maro. Okay, sacking the Immortals to sack a base, pretty good choice. And in that case, Maro did end up winning.
What's cool about this, though, is Harstem... It's funny you mentioned that snipe. Like that's actually the most cost-inefficient attack you could go for, but it ends up working. But
oh wow, carriers. So yeah, I was gonna say that in my opinion, like the ultimate late game for both parties will go in favor of the correctly utilized Protoss army. So I'm talking like Tempest plus Revelation to have the range for them, plus Storms, plus Void Rays to really tear down the armor, and then a couple of carriers. Like, your ideal Golden Armada is going to be better than the ideal Zerg Armada, but...
So, the only way I would fault that composition is questioning what's on the ground. Because right now, the only reason we haven't seen energy-based units is because there was the threat of Templar for a while. There hasn't been for like 4 minutes. And if Demaga had realized this, I'm not saying a Parasitic Bomb would kill all the Void Rays, but a Parasitic Bomb paired up with like a Fungal Growth or two, that might just do it. Same goes for the carriers. These units have a lot of health, and it would take way too many Parasitic Bombs to be worthwhile, but it's the difference of cost of energy versus the cost of minerals to remake. And that's where the question is, like, will Infested Terrans on the ground combined with Parasitic Bombs be enough? We don't know because we're not going to get to see it in this game.
Yeah.
And we're at that point now where I feel like it is too far gone. Like, we are getting 5 carriers produced at a time.
Oh yeah, this game's over. Demaga lost his army already. But the problem with that is that even with the ground not being there, so the High Templars not being there to snipe the Vipers and the Infestors, is that in an ideal situation, the Tempests are actually covering that job with the Revelation. With the Revelation. With the Revelation.
All right, so quick question before we get into this game to Twitch chat, and that is, how is the video doing so far? I know that when we came back, we had a bit of stutters, but I see 0 drop frames and a steady bitrate, so I'm hoping things have been good. Fingers crossed, but I'm going to have my heart broken when everyone's still spamming that is choppy as hell. But let us know, and again, if I can message someone on Twitch to try and get help, I will, but hopefully things are just going to take care of themselves here. Game number 2 in this best of 3 for the WCS Shanghai qualifiers. Rifkin and Zombie coming at you on BaseTradeTV. And then the bottom left side, we've got the pink Protoss Invasion Gaming's Harstem.
In the top left, as the red Zerg, he is Demaga.
So we talked a little bit about this. I guess I normally do most of the talking. Do you want to explain why we're kind of referencing Soul Key? What is a possibility in this game?
Well, I mean, I guess we saw him do it first, but it's been a lot of Zergs. Even Penguin is pulling out the Overlord Drop All-In, which is most effective on Arena, as you do have very close spawns. You bring the Queens, you bring the Lings, it hits before a lot of production's ready to go, it hits before any tech is ready to go, really, too, and it's almost impossible to clean up. Many people are considering this pretty overpowered. So for Harstem to let Arena get through either means that he has a solution to it, or he anticipates Demaga not going for it, which I don't know. Most Zerg seem to at least know something about it.
Right, and that's actually one of the points I was hoping to get to after you finish up, where the vetoes were very important. This is actually getting more and more commonly first vetoed out of most players that we see, even Terrans as well, just when fighting Zerg. I don't think this is a terrible map if you can get the opportunity to play it out, but because, again, that all-in is so desirable, why not go for it? It works too often.
Yeah. Demaga, I mean, we can't tell quite yet. Basically, if we see another round of Queens, then we'll be for sure. The fact that he's already opening with speed does not really say anything. It's going to be, mostly speed openers on this map anyways, but that is quite a few Lings. And I think he will be getting the extra Queens when he has money.
Well, I mean, we're going to most likely see 3 to 4 Queens anyway. Even 5's not that big of a tell, but it is that Evolution Chamber timing that'll matter most.
Even 5 for 2 base?
I think on Arena, we're seeing that more commonly because they block off a lot and help with the early game defense.
It is going to be that 3rd base, however, so... There's the Lings now, there's 10 Lings, and I guess because he saw that it was a 2-gate opener, that's why he got them. So he's not going to be going for that all-in. Not utilizing any drops at all is, I guess, questionable when you have such a powerful attack on your racist side, but that's what this game's going to go to. It's going to go to macro game.
It's almost cheesy to not go for it. Like, we're building this up, not because it's a lot of hype, guys, but you have to understand the last, 10 games PvZ on this map, 9 of which have been that move, and every single time in the favor of Zerg. It's not even a question of cast or bias. It's just stating facts of what's happened. Mm-hmm. And I guess for Harstem, this is a bit of a load off his mind. You don't have to worry about that sort of BS. Because I will say this, I actually don't love Harstem's pylon placements in a lot of these games, especially when it comes to things like drops.
Yeah, I think we'll see someone abuse that later on in this bracket. Like Snoots, I guess, is on the side. Nurchio's on this side too. It's top 1 and bottom 1, so the entirety of the bracket's going to be played out here.
Yeah. Thank you to Vincism for the 2-month resub. Back to back, yeah.
So Harstem's also going to be feeling pretty good that this was not that attack. I think you always have to play a little bit into the idea that it's going to happen, but now you can just go ahead and not suicide necessarily. We saw him get the same attack going against Minimath on Lair Lag, and he actually brought the Adepts back, which some Protosses are just literally trying to suicide them for as many drone kills as possible. And Demaga already having roaches, already having a number of Lings, I think he will want to keep those alive, as that is a good number of roaches on the way, actually. About 10. Not quite a super-duper attacking force, but enough to split up against Adepts.
That's a lot of Adepts, too. Now, this Ling Rabbi is going to be kind of nice. Might get to cancel on that 3rd. Kind of asterisk it, but... If Resident Glaze is done, and it is, I actually think he could have taken the Roaches on. I guess he just wouldn't have traded out the way he wanted. And
yeah,
in that regard, I kind of like it, because speaking of other things we see all the time at Protoss versus Zerg, you'll see a Protoss over-dedicate to an attack, have like no supply, and a counterattack kills them because of it.
Yeah, it happens too often. So, Demaga, going ahead and just getting up to that lair here, is probably going to be going into the Roach Ravager attack, but we'll see if he waits any longer for, like, Hydras or Lurkers. Getting the upgrade as well. I assume it's going to be +1 missile. Not the double upgrades. I guess it was a Dusk Towers build. Not used on any other map. And he's going to bother investing into these Roaches. Spire.
Well,
Alright, that also
Spire,
makes sense.
not going to play into a double Stargate very well, though. And for Demaga, I thought he saw that. No, he didn't see the Stargates at all. Oh my god. How did he scout the Twilight and neither of those Stargates? So, this is a... It's not to say that he's going to be committing to like 10 Mutalisks right off the bat, but if he does, he is going to sorely regret it. And Harstem has not revealed this Phoenix yet. I thought he was going to go straight for the Overlord. Oh, there we go.
So, Orita is pretty popular for those Muta switches. Less so about Lurkers, although still obviously can be played out. But Muta switches, Overlord drops, and Roach Ravager busts, I guess, are like the top 3 styles that we see on this map. Not many macro games, not many 5th bases are taken on this map. Usually you try and switch out to the Mutas and it works or it doesn't. And in this game, it doesn't really feel like it's going to work with double Stargate. I mean, Demaga, he only sees 3 Phoenix. This isn't a very large amount. So he sees 4.
You know, funny enough, I actually wouldn't mind Corrupt. Oh, there we go. Speak of the devil.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Corruptors wouldn't be bad because they would deal with the Phoenix, but you mentioned the shorter distance on the map earlier, and just going back to that, like, you can get across, snipe off a Nexus with the Corruptors, and go back home.
Yeah, that's, I was gonna say, like, maybe he goes from Corruptors, because he has to know that the Mutas won't be able to stand up that well. These are either going to be just purely Corruptors, and he'll, like, try and snipe stuff, and then go back home, or he just really wants to get rid of the Phoenixes, and maybe does a ground attack, but it also could be the, like, Prelude to Mutas. First you try and clear out the Corruptors, then you actually, or the Phoenixes, then you actually play the Corruptor Muta game, which we've certainly seen, especially in Heart of the Swarm. It's a little difficult to pull off, but you can just play that air war if you really, really wanted to. But for now, Demaga just getting up to a pretty damn high drone count, almost up to 80 on four bases. Still not much of an army.
Ooh.
Especially since a lot of it is in these Corruptors.
You know, Corruptors have got to be like some of the tankiest units in the game. Like, I'm trying to think, like, does anything else come with +2 base armor?
No. I
Do
think we actually
Ultras even
this.
come with +2 base armor? I don't think so, right?
No, because they would have 3 plus... Wait.
No, they don't. They definitely don't, because otherwise it'd be 9 armor.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, see. Yeah, math. Nailed it.
Surprisingly tanky units. Anyways, because of their surprising tankiness, though, they can do what Demaga looks like he's going to try to do, and that's head over this Nexus. Now, Harstem, I think, is a little bit aware after seeing the Corruptors that this is a possibility. So, Mothership cores here, there's some Stalkers here. If he's complacent about this, these Disruptors can kill a Nexus. I know that sounds dumb, because some of you may be just returning to Legacy of the Void, but they have an ability now called Caustic Spray with a fairly long cooldown. But it's like the old Void Ray attack, where it ramps up over time and the damage becomes greater the longer you're attacking something, and you will kill buildings, and only buildings with it, but you will kill them.
Definitely. So choosing the Muta War, now luckily Harstem either anticipated this, or just, well, maybe he's been facing this a lot. He also does see it with the Xel'Naga, so I guess that also explains that. But Blink is on the way, so he didn't just depend on his Phoenixes to deal with whatever was in the air. There was just the Corruptors or the Mutas, although he is still going to invest into the range upgrade for them.
Yeah.
But the Stalkers on the ground will add that little bit of damage.
And your Pulse Crystals will be actually very good in this situation, and the Void Ray can help a little bit here, as the Corruptors need to be chewed through first and foremost. I'm surprised that Demaga is choosing to actually sit here and take this fight.
So there is some odd micro with the Blink Stalkers, rather that they're just kind of doing something weird. There's also, of course, the fact that his army was kept out of his own base. Blinking forward into this, the Phoenix is trying to take the army fights with the Mutas, less so the Corruptors, but the Corruptors are going down.
At no point has he actually tried to take on the Mutas, actually. It has been the focus on those Corruptors, interestingly enough. I don't like that with the Phoenix, but the Stalkers has been good focus fire up to this point.
The Stalkers definitely want to take down those Corruptors, but the Phoenixes would love to get behind the entire engagement and go for the Mutas. But I guess if you took them all down, if you entirely focus on the Corruptors, then chasing down the Mutas would be easy peasy, as the Phoenixes get their upgrade, especially.
Yeah, you get the big speed benefit. Now, here we go. The Mutas starting to get shredded as the Corruptor count has pretty much dissipated. But taking a fight head on and really should be dancing around these Phoenix more. Like, they're not even involved with the fight right now. They're just going to sit there and fight the Corruptors before. A little bit awkward. Blink Stalkers is being microed now, which is nice. But, again, and your Pulse Crystal's still not done. He doesn't have that auto edge.
I feel like there might be some rustiness to taking on an army like this.
Yeah.
So often we see just mass Muta either wins or doesn't. You get the Phoenixes, so you either respond or you don't. But rarely do we see people go for the actual Muta Corruptor style anymore. And it's different than just entirely depending on those Phoenixes.
Bly used to do this a fair bit back in HOTS, but you're right. Like, just in
a
general,
lot of people did.
We don't see a lot of people do this. Now, unfortunately, the annual Pulse Crystal's upgrade is finished now, and Phoenix have a huge range benefit over these Mutas. But stopping around and turning on a dime, it's not like the Mutas don't have damage, they just don't have range. So on some good control conditions, he can certainly take on fights. And Harstem's Phoenix count is not that high. Meanwhile, we got Roach counterattack as Demaga continues to expand on the upper right side of the map. So he's sitting on 5 bases really nicely behind this. Harstem loses one of those very precious Stargates, actually. Good point of contention.
Yeah, that is pretty important. The Blink Stalkers are also going to be used to defend against these multi-pronged harass attacks. With Roaches isn't what you expect at the Mutas, but either way they're going to be able to cancel bases, and that's what's most important. A couple overcharges are not really going to help out. That Muta count has really snowballed. Well, actually not that much. I thought it was going up to 30, but it's still only at 18.
The Blink Stalkers alone could take this on. It is just that mobility that makes this so difficult, trying to get in and get out. And Orena's got all this dead airspace you can just keep hiding in. People were mentioning battlecruisers have +3 base armor. Yeah, but that's not +2. Was my point. Like, we all know battlecruisers they're intended to be more tanky than they are damage. Force maybe? I really can't think of anything else that is +2.
I don't know. But a lot of the supply for Demaga, who's kind of close to being maxed out, was in these little run-bys of Lings and Roaches. So he is just adding more and more onto his Mutas, and eventually he might have pure Muta, but it's doing so well denying this 5th base that you should continue to invest in these Lings.
This is actually getting really bad for Harstem. He was at a point where he could have just taken this army engagement head on, and I actually don't even know if that's the case anymore.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, usually if you can get up to double Stargate Phoenixes, especially with the upgrade, you can actually...
He's just saying screw it base trade times.
Right. You can actually take on the army. Like, you don't have to base trade, but if you can't get up to that Phoenix count, then all Muta games end in base trades, and it usually doesn't go well for the Protoss player.
I mean, triple Stargates were a great way to try and get back into this game, but with the Corruptors still being so heavily abundant, I guess we could say, it's not going to happen. Now, base trades, if you've seen us cast Penguin, then you've seen all too many base trades on the channel. You know how these things can go. Harstem's already lost most of his probes, though, and the scary thing is I don't think he got any out of the base. So if this is going to be a base trade, it's less of a trade and more of a race. One single probe being escorted out by that Zealot needs to get somewhere else on the map to not just maybe potentially build a Nexus, but definitely put down assimilators, get pylons, and just make sure the game doesn't straight up end. Because Harstem's ground force isn't too bad. He is tearing through buildings. The defense at home is just handfuls of Lings and broodlings that spawn from these buildings. It's not bad. The problem is his only real fighting force to contend with are these Phoenix, and in a perfect world with like the most ultimate AI, Harstem could kill every single Corruptor and every single Mutalisk without even taking a point of damage. But nobody's perfect, latency's not the greatest, and we don't know how this is going to play out. I just know that this looks a lot better for Demaga right now than it does for Harstem, as he slaps out a bunch of spine crawlers here in the top right.
Looks a lot better for Demaga. I mean, Harstem's doing a good job trying to avoid the Corruptors and only finding the Mutalisk. He's actually picked off quite a few that were trying to rally forward, as you do want to try and get as many Mutas as possible when you realize it's going to be a base race. And there's been a couple of times the Corruptors have not been guarding the Mutas, and every single time that happens, it increases the chance that maybe Harstem could take an actual fight.
I don't know though. Like, this doesn't have to come down to a fight. Is always the problem with Mutalisk. They could just try and snipe off every building. Harstem throws in a Nexus that's not even like near a mineral line because the creep spread was covering it.
He came back home to fight. I don't know about this. Maybe he saw the spine crawlers and said there was no way I was going to take those on, and I have a slightly better but still bad chance here. I mean, he blinked, sure, but it's not going to work. GG. Demaga.
I mean, like, micro. Yeah, good job. I really feel like a lot of that was just Harstem forgetting what he learned in Heart of the Swarm, though. Like, he had everything he needed. Double Stargates, he was getting out to the range. He actually had Blink, which is usually missing in Legacy of the Void. And he just had some really odd choices of engagements and really odd micro. I don't know if Demaga is going to be able to get away with that again.
Well, we'll see as we get into game number 3. We're going to take a small 2-minute commercial break, guys. I got to get some more water, so either way, you have to just BRB real fast, and we'll see you guys for that final map when we return. However, people regularly misuse this as the last game in a best of series.
Sure.
I feel though I don't even know if colloquialism is the right phrase to describe it, but just like the way it gets used gives it the new meaning.
I don't know. It's like the same guy that's probably going to be about Colossus and Colossi. You're just like, actually, no one cares.
All right, well, folks, we are getting into game number 3. Thank you so much for tuning in. Spawning in the upper right side with a very strange pylon to start. It's going to be the pink Protoss Harstem.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, he is Demaga.
So a lot of people picking Harstem apart for that last game, like the what ifs, what could you have done, etc. And I will say, like, yeah, I agree with Zombie Grub's statement that it felt like there's a lot of things that could have been done differently because of how just almost by default, like, autopilot a lot of Protoss players became in HOTS. But I don't actually think it was so bad that he lost to that, because it is a strategy that has somewhat been lost. In the same way we're watching a lot of Zerg players struggle with, like, I don't know, just very common strategies. Protoss are kind of in that same boat where you're like, oh, well, this isn't what we do in Legacy anymore, and I've forgotten how to deal with this.
Yeah. Actually going for 3-hatch on Lairlac. You brought up the pylon, and I guess it was just because he was planning on taking a very quick Nexus. So Nexus before Gateway.
Yeah.
Not usually the map you would anticipate these macro openers, but sure.
Well, yes, first. But secondly, I feel like you would never, ever see Harstem do this against, say, somebody like Bly. Someone who's willing to actually do a 12-pool gamble on a map like Lairlac Crest. Because if you did, you automatically lose just by having your pylon there, I feel. Even if they don't scout you first, as long as they don't scout you last.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But I guess Demaga has not been very cheesy. I mean, he had the option of winning that last game with an all-in, and instead went for the Mutalisk, which I guess some people might refer to as a cheese, but because the definition of cheese is not necessarily the early game, but something that is like guaranteed to win or something like that. I don't know. Okay,
we've talked about this many times in the past. Let's do this real quick. If I ask, we're each going to do this. We're going to define cheese.
Okay,
you go first.
A tactic that has a very high success rate with very little skill involved.
Oh, I could debate that, but I don't want to. My definition of it would just simply be the subjective cause of subjectively. So from like your point of view, a loss caused by something that pisses you off. That's where I think I would go close to with cheese.
Wait, what would you say is the definition? A loss caused that pisses you off?
A loss caused by something that pisses you off. So, like, if you lose to a macro game, you don't call it cheesy, but you can still be pissed off at it. But if you lose to a couple of racks early on, you're like, well, that was a really shitty move. Now I'm mad. Like, I don't know. I feel there's a lot of different ways this can go. Obviously, we're not trying to create the definition here in this discussion. I just don't like the point you bring up with no skill, though, because I feel there are a lot of things that actually everyone would commonly call cheesy that are very skill based.
Yeah, I know that. Like, my favorite games are when there is cheese and that there's a lot of micro involved, because micro is obviously, like, can be very difficult to do. It's just that you could say that, like, if you went for DTs and then you won because you warped in a DT,
that's cheese, and it did not require you a lot of skill. It just, like, the opponent didn't have an engineering bay, and whoops-a-daisy, like, that's it. Or you went for the Muta swap, and they didn't see it coming, so, like, whoops-a-daisy. Like, those games that end so quickly is the only time I'd, like, really refer to cheese in, like, a negative sense.
Well, at any rate, it is a fair statement to say that Demaga does not play too cheesy. He doesn't typically do those early game gambles. Actually, I think that because we've seen him do it ZvZ, but versus what we've seen of his versus Protoss and versus Terran, he tends to play it a little bit more standard. And seeing the 3-hatch opener on Lirlac, yes, a little bit strange, but also not entirely due to the fact that it is Demaga.
Actually, so talking about definitions, I looked up the ace definition because you were talking about it. I don't know where he got his dictionary definition from that an ace has to be in a, like, team game to be an ace match. Because what all I see in Google is that it's the last game before the set point.
See, that's what I've always thought it was, too, so I'm glad to know that I'm not totally wrong on this. Thanks, Google. Although this might also be a case of, like, the autism Google search, where you're like, here's 1,000 things that say vaccines don't cause autism, but here's one that says it does. So then you're like, well,
it's actually really hard to find, like, an actual, like, definition, like, on dictionary.com of ace match. You can find ace, which means a lot of different things, like you're an ace at something, but
you know what? We've got the ace match emote in chat, and that's all I care about.
That's all I was thinking about when that guy brought it up too. I was like, oh, he must hate that emote.
Yeah, he's just mad because he doesn't have it. There you go. That's probably where this all stemmed from, just thinking on it. Nice transfuse out of Demaga, but still the queen will die, and the other one most likely as well. Oh no, there you go. Hides closer to the spore. He's thinking about it. Harstem wants to die for it. This is not going to be worth it.
That's it.
Now, I actually really like, even though these rocks weren't broken down yet, it was versus Minimath on Lirlac Crest. We saw some problems with those said back rocks. So Harstem already eliminating a weakness that he showed earlier on today. I love that you see somebody kind of learn from the mistakes and in that same tournament adapt to them.
Yeah. I think it's always going to be ideal to get to a wall behind there. It's almost always going to be broken by the Stark at one point. But this has been, yet again, a pretty passive game from both parties. We finally have some units coming out for Demaga that actually maybe threaten an attack, but I guess it doesn't get to fourth base.
I don't think... I actually... going back to Cheese for a moment. I like this guy, CIA1413 in chat, says, Cheese is a non-standard play designed to create a huge early advantage. I like that definition, actually. I still wouldn't say that covers everything, but...
Yeah, it's always so weird because, like, there's fun cheese, there's angry cheese, there's cheese that will, like, develop into very difficult, and then there's cheese that will always be really easy. So, and usually, like, one of the main components of cheese is that it's not... sportsmanlike isn't the right word, but it has a negative connotation, right?
I'm loving... You keep saying angry cheese, and I'm just imagining, like, angry eyebrows.
Angry cheese.
On, like, googly eyes that you slap on some cheese.
Some of these definitions are pretty good.
Yeah. Well, the game, again, slowly but definitely progressing. You mentioned the fourth. I like the Twilight Council out of Harstem. Storm going to be very good because of this high Hydra count. The Hydra count, if you will. But Ling Hydra for Demaga, not a bad choice. But this time around, we're not seeing those double upgrades. And that's where I'm wondering what his thought process is. Because, I mean, on Dust Towers, okay, the map didn't work out. But that also has a lot to do with Dust Towers, I feel, than his strategy he picked for Dust Towers. I think, like, Adrenal Glands, Run-Bys, all this other good stuff, that could have won him games, on, like, if that was the same game played out on a different map.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's probably going to get a Spire eventually. As, of course, this game has been so passive, it's going to be about Brood Lords, but I'm not going for those mutas again. Almost guaranteed.
Charge Lot's gonna be a bit scary. There's a lot of them.
Well, Storm would be really scary if it was actually done, but taking it without makes High Templars look a little bit dumb, just standing there doing absolutely nothing.
Harstem's in a bit of a funny spot, too, because he can't exactly recall his army out of there. The Mothership, of course, is popping these overcharges. He's hoping to back himself into a corner and stay alive. Charge Lots, as long as they can soak a couple of hits from the Hydras, the Immortals will do a ton of damage. Trying to scoop them up here with the Phoenix even being focused down, and the Storms are still like a good 10 seconds out.
Yeah. Once they're done, they're going to absolutely obliterate all the Hydralisk, but that was a very scary, scary moment. Whereas, like, 20 plus Hydras are going on top of just plain Immortals, like, they wouldn't have done so well. But everything has calmed down, and Demaga does have to reinforce. He's reinforcing with a ton of Lings, which Harstem does see. He doesn't really have the backup plan quite yet. There's no Infestation Pits. There's Lurker now on the way. I guess that's his backup plan, or his next step.
I'm actually astonished how many Immortals lived through that fight, just by the way.
We always seem to be, like we see them getting collapsed in on, and we're like, well, they're certainly going to die because they're not that good, and then they actually survive.
Alright, well, we got the Warp Prism just kind of hovering for the time being. This is something Harstem's been quite good at, just getting behind and getting some drone kills. So it is Zealots in there, worth noting, not Adepts. And...
we haven't seen no Adepts whatsoever, right? Like there's not even Resonating Glaives.
Not this game, no.
Yeah, entirely depending on those charge lots to be the buffer. That's not really that bad. They do sometimes have overlapping places in the matchup to kind of get either or, but usually you want the option there.
So of course we're on a stream delay, but everybody's still discussing that cheese topic. However, I like NZ Grim in chat. He says all this is accomplished is making me hungry. I think that is the greatest summary of this discussion.
Yeah. I would change my answer to some of these answers. Some of the other people have much better definitions.
Some of these guys have way better definitions than we did. Like, it's not that we didn't think this way, but they put it in words a lot more eloquently than we could.
Yeah. Like, I was thinking when you're just blindsided by cheese, but obviously this is the only cheese you can do.
No. We got a new sub. Hey, it was the guy who actually was the definition I read out on stream. CIA 1413. Thank you for subscribing. Hey. Oh no, the word for okay, that fell apart.
That ripped. The game has gone on past the Hydralisk that looked like they almost were going to end the game to Lurkers and now Tempests. But he isn't really a Tempest right now.
No, it's more of like a eventuality, I suppose.
Flipping Lurkers. I'm actually worried that he.
Take a scrennshot, guys. Like, when are you ever going to see 20 Lurker guys? Yeah. That looks really weird.
I would be more worried that Harstem is spending too much money on not things that would take care of the Lurkers, but he still has a nice army without the Tempest. It's just... that is so many Lurkers.
Yeah, look at that ground just turned to all pure spikes. Demaga, I wouldn't favor Harstem just yet. But Harstem is going for Graviton Catapult, so it's not Tempest. Oh, this is the carrier upgrade. We didn't get to see him before. Maybe we'll see him again. But the funny thing is, by investing so heavily in 20 Lurkers, right? Like, now Harstem has no way of knowing that it was 20 Lurkers, right? But that's so much supply in ground units that won't be able to be part of that hive tech. They won't be in the air. He obliterates this base. It's going to be a bit of a trade-out, though, because on the other side of the map, the Lurkers are coming in. Hydra's going to kill a Mothership Core. Oh, not even an overcharge. Hidden base discovered?
That does kind of hidden base, but that does suck to be discovered. As it's turning into a little bit of a base trade. This time, literally trade for trade, 1 for 1. And Harstem is going to pull back and try to take care of the Lurkers. I mean, even with this many Lurkers, even if they're undefended, like they have no Lings covering them or no Hydras covering them, if they burrow, they're going to get a lot of shots off.
While this is going on, though, the Zealots were left behind. He only brought the Immortals and the Archons back, and this killed so many drones and gutted a base. Now, the Phoenix are being reinvested into, which I think is kind of cute, and Impulse Crystals is being built up as well. I don't think this is a bad choice, but I am very excited to see what it potentially carries at some point, hopefully. Obviously, when they sell a lot of Hydras, you don't want to go for them, but the Lurkers will, now they can't shoot up.
No, they can't. That's going to be the main problem. Demaga does have a lot of minerals to replace his hatcheries, which he'll need just to get his gas count back up, actually, but... Demaga is looking to keep him off of 4 at the very least, and is trying to find a place to push, but that's
yeah, this is scary. Actually, what's kind of funny is we still have like the attacks going around on both sides of the map. Harstem does take the other base though, and he doesn't have the mineral abundancy to put down a bunch of cannons as before, which is a little unfortunate. Also a bit scared leaving Templar alone like this. I know the Warp Prism's right there, but jeez, Louise.
Not getting those carrier upgrades is a little bit of a bummer, but Tempests will probably be the better option. They're, as silly as it sounds, the carrier interceptors can actually start adding up if they die, and there are a ton of Hydras left over. And of course, there's always the possibility to get chased
because they're a little slow. But Tempest have the range. You don't need to actually buy their attack, and they should be able to take care of the lurkers, which is right now Harstem's first problem. Now we're seeing a couple of Vipers. This will help out against the Tempests potentially. Let's see about those feedbacks.
Yeah, I'm really torn on what will be better used here. Like Blinding Cloud is one option because there's so many Immortals. The other is Abducts. Either way, neither will be too easy to pull off. Yo, what kind of... I just want to make like some commentary here though while we're waiting on the state of things.
Some commentary in a cast? What?
No, we're field reporting. We're not commentators. I was gonna say though, the whole discussion about cheese and seeing like the many different people contributing in chat, what kind of breaks my heart a little bit is knowing that we could make that same. We could try and make like a Reddit thread discussion of the same topic, and it would be derailed so quickly. Not because it's Rifkin, like it could be someone else who makes it. And I feel like you've got those 3 or 4 people on Reddit who are just like those dicks that get there first and ruin it for everyone else type thing. And it's so sad because like that would have been such a fun discussion to like actually have there instead of like in Twitch chat, right? Because we don't get to see like 90% of the replies.
It's so surprising how like angry people get over these definitions, though, too. So like, of course, Reddit's gonna get angrier than anyone else.
This week downvotes all over the place.
But even people like in chat are getting angry at other people. I accuse people of actually saying that they're describing an all-in, so I'm part of the problem.
Way to go, Zombie Grove.
My bad.
Uh-oh. Who is it?
Oh,
not Rifkin. Not it.
Oh,
it's Pommy. Fucking Pommy. When you're not busy stealing content, you're busy lagging out of the game.
Haha.
This is a very important match being in Game 3, so yeah, that quick pause to make sure nothing slipped after. And by the way, before someone starts getting at my ass for what I just said, Pommy literally has stolen our content many different times, so that's not like a blind accusation. Like,
yeah, we don't like him.
Proof is in his own videos.
The Greater Spire is finally on the way, a point at which I did not really expect Demaga to get to, considering how late he was on the tech factor, and just, seems that Harstem has had control of the game since that pseudo base trade. I only at 29 drones. I think he still is going to win, but trying to get to that mass air army.
Those storms, though. Hydra's are so low.
Yeah, let's take a chunk out of that Hydra's health pool.
They're the only anti-air, really. I mean, there's a couple of Corruptors, not enough to really push into this yet, so he's going to have to bleed Lurkers. And this kind of reminds me of the Disruptor game, right, that used to get played in these situations. You're buying time with like physical bodies being thrown away, but oh man, that storm hits a lot of the Corruptors. They fly on top of the Archons. Feedback smack down immediately. We got some Lurkers coming from the backside. That's actually kind of cool. I don't know where those came from, but they're going to be taken care of very quickly. And Demaga down to 4-0 army supply. Loses literally everything here.
GG.
So Harstem will take the series 2-1 and move on to fight a PvP against Showtime. And PvP has been actually really great to watch with 2 players who are as good as Harstem and Showtime. They might be slow games, they might be fast games. I've got no idea, but I'm actually really excited for it. The winner of that, of course, then goes on to fight against Snoot. The winner of that goes on to fight against Nurchio. So this top half of the bracket looks fantastic. But a lot of good players like TLO and many others have fallen to the losers bracket. So please make sure you type !brackets in chat so you guys can take a look at the challenge page yourself. Look at the losers bracket and see where all your favorite players are currently at. We are going to take a small break while Showtime and Harstem figure out their vetoes, and we'll be back with a brand new best of 3 PvP when we return.